Hey folks, welcome back. I've got a little bit of an impulse buy that I'm going to show you today. I'm really not sure where it's going to go. This is a really cheap guitar. It's a Glarry Stratocaster. It just came in the box. I'm going to unbox it for us and we're going to take a look at it and see what's going on with it. It was only 56 bucks on Amazon, shipped. I'm ecstatic about the price. I guess we'll see how good or bad of a purchase it was. Alright, well let's cut into this thing and see how this goes. Okay, well first things first, it comes with a little strap, which is kind of neat. It comes with the tremolo arm, a Allen wrench, and the cord all in one package. And it looks like it comes with a little case. Ooh. I guess that qualifies as a case, but it is super duper thin. More like a dust cover. Anyway, nice to have it. Now for the guitar itself. Oh. Advertisement. Well, here she is. It's a blue and black Stratocaster body with a just a maple neck, and it looks like it's a maple fretboard on top of a maple neck. So two pieces. Nothing really surprising out of the box, except for the fact that I don't think this neck is finished at all. This body, just on first impressions, looks thinner than standard. The neck plate, maybe standard dimensions, but it does have that gasket underneath that you sometimes see on import guitars. Everything else in terms of hardware, strap buttons, everything I can see looks like a $50 guitar. At next glance, the thing that I noticed the most about the neck is that it's actually not what I jokingly refer to sometimes as a shredder guitar, where the edges of the frets will shred your hand as you're playing. And I think the reason for that is they have beveled the edge of the fretboard quite a bit, and the frets actually do not extend all the way to the edge of the fretboard in the middle. It's like they took a bevel and really shaved down the middle, and it really affected the size of the frets from probably about 3 to about 14, maybe 13. And then everything else is more or less at the edge of the fretboard. So that's kind of weird. And I guess the other thing I noticed about the frets, they're quite corroded. I'll get a picture of those so that I can show you that closer up in the video. Then, of course, I decided to compare this with the Fender Starcaster neck that I had just laying around. You know, compared to the Starcaster does have really sharp frets. And I don't know, I guess the Glarry just doesn't seem to. The nuts look similar, although the Glarry is a little bit thinner. Neither one of them has a insert on the truss rod hole, so there's no PVC tube or anything extending into that hole. The tuners look similar to the Starcaster tuners that I've seen. They're just inexpensive little offset mini tuners, basically, single screw on the back. Alright, well let's do some checking of the neck relief and the action and the first fret action to sort of see how Glarry set this thing up from the factory. First things first, let's give it a quick tune up. Okay, well that's close enough for rock and roll. I just wanted to get it in the ballpark so I could check the action and whatnot. Let's do action first. So Glarry has set the low E string at about 80 thousandths. That's not too bad. But the high E string is probably closer to 95 thousandths. The rest of the strings I think are similarly too high on the treble side. Let's see why that might be. Let's check the first fret action next. Well, it's more than 20 thousandths. I'm going to skip all the way to 24, which is the highest my gauge goes. you see similar issues with the nut. The nut is slotted too deeply. Well, not too deeply, I should say. It's slotted the most deeply on the bass E side. On the treble side, it's not slotted enough. So basically the strings go up in a ramp like this, and it's about probably 23 thousandths on this side, and then I can't even measure it on this side with my 24 thousandths scale, so let's just say it's probably 26, 27, maybe even 30 on this side. So there's a lot of inconsistency in the way they cut this nut. Let's check the neck relief next. It's closer to 20 thousandths. It needs a little bit of a tighten. In terms of other setup, I can tell you that the bridge is sitting on the guitar. It's not set up to float at all. Sometimes that's a preference for people. Looks like the tremolo is a standard claw tremolo that has 3 springs in it. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So you'll notice there's a lot of sawdust in these holes. That just tells me this thing was put together in a hurry. It's painted all the way through, so I can't tell if it's a laminate body yet. Really, really thin trem block. And like I said, it's just pulled tightly. You can see the screws on the claw are almost tightened all the way down, so the claw is like, it might actually be touching some of this extra paint that's on the body. Here's a funny one. I've never seen this before. Instead of soldering the bridge wire to the little tab on the claw where it's supposed to go, they just soldered it to one of the teeth on the claw. That's funny. Maybe I'll fix that. Also, one more setting. I checked the pickup heights. They're a little bit all over the map, but they're all sort of in the neighborhood of 8/64ths across the board. Before I tear this thing down any further, I will just say the strings on it are some kind of just steel string. I don't think they have any sort of nickel coating on them at all. They really don't feel like it. And there's already a little corrosion on it right from the factory. And like I said, I'll get a picture of these frets. There may have been some kind of moisture issue in the packaging, but it didn't rain when it was on my porch, so I can at least say that. Let's take a knob off just to see what kind of pots they used. Alright, so it's a split shaft pot, definitely metric. This is one of those guitars where it has holes in the pick guards so that like if the pots have a tab to locate them, you can put that tab in that hole, but there's nothing sticking up through the hole. I think next, let's see how this thing sounds through an amplifier. Well, I can already tell this thing is not staying in tune, but here's a few chords. It won't stay in tune for 2 seconds, so I apologize for that. But the thing is, all the pickups sound really, really, really thin. The neck pickup actually kind of sounds the best. But once you get up into like the middle pickup, I mean, the bridge pickup just sounds like total crap. It could be the adjustment. Everything's a little bit low, so that can lead to thinner sounding pickups. I guess maybe what I'll do is go ahead and correct the pickup height and just see what happens. Alright, I'm going to go with 5/64ths and 4/64ths. I've got a video on this if you're interested in what I'm doing, but essentially I use the Allen wrenches of the right size and I adjust the pickups from there. You need to depress the string at the last fret in order to do this right. Alright, my pickup height is set. It's set according to the action that I have on here now, which is really high, but let's just see if the pickups sound any better from there. Well, they do a little. know, there's really nothing you can do to make these pickups sound good. They make my terrible playing sound worse. But anyway, the tone controls do make some sort of a difference in the tone, but they do not add much bass to fill out these bottom pickups here. This one is just awful, and I don't know if there's something wrong with it or if it's just the pickups in general, but I tend to think it's the latter. So I guess since this thing is so bad, I'm just going to go ahead and take it apart and see what the guts look like. Alright, I'm going to try to tear this down and leave the strings on it, just in case I decide to sell it with these crappy strings on it. This is not a keeper guitar for me, that's for sure. But let's see here what we can do. Alright, well, first impressions. It definitely has a shim here in the pocket. It's a solid wood body of some sort. Very lightweight, probably basswood. I'm sure it says that in the spec somewhere. I just didn't bother to read it. Let's get underneath this pickguard and see what's going on under there. Let me tie up these strings a little better. Alright, well, inside here, I can actually sort of see a little bit of an issue with this bridge pickup. It looks like the magnet's not attached and it's sliding around, so that could have had something to do with the sound that I was hearing out of the bridge pickup. But I can tell you the electronics in here are really not doing this thing any favors. It does have two tone capacitors for some reason, which is a trick that I sometimes like to do to the guitars that I build, but the pots are... I can't even tell. It says 16K, but surely that's not right. Anyway, really cheap wires, really cheap switch, no shockers here. It's just a cheap guitar. Not fully shielded. Everything looks wired pretty standard. The switch has been banged around pretty good. Let's take a quick look under the jack plate. That's definitely the style jack I would expect to see. It's just really thin, really cheap, not good materials, I'll put it that way. Plastic wafers in between the layers. Yeah, that's really cheap. You know, the more I get into this thing, the more I want to know. So I'm going to desolder the pickups from their switch and check out the value of that volume pot and the ohm readings on each one of the pickups. Alright, well, the pot is 250K. Let me see about a tone pot here. Yeah, also 250K. So I don't know what that 16K marking is. Let's try out a pickup. Alright, bridge pickup, 4.25K. That might have something to do with the way it sounds. Middle pickup is 4.23. Neck pickup is 4.25. So all of these pickups are very low output pickups. All ceramic bar magnets. Very thin wire. So, you know, I guess that contributes a lot to the way it sounds. Alright, well, there's a few other measurements I could take just to give you the full picture on this thing, and then I'm going to put it to bed. Well, the neck pocket is 2 1/4 wide. If you need a project body for something, this might be a good buy. The neck itself is just under that, maybe a 32nd less. The width at the nut is 1 5/8 or 42 millimeters, roughly. By the way, there's a lot of space in that nut slot. In fact, I can move it with my fingers. Another thing that's useful to note about this body is that it's routed for a humbucker and the bridge for sure. There is a humbucker sized route in the neck. It doesn't have the extra routings for where the screws would land, but it would accept a humbucker if you drilled a few holes here. And then of course the center one is only a single coil route. So I haven't been able to stop fooling with this thing since I got it. I'm really interested in why the bridge pickup is so weak compared to the other two and thin sounding. And at first I thought it was the pickup height that adjusted that. It's not any of that stuff, and it's not the magnet on the back either. And I even checked just to make sure that the magnets were all reverse polarity from each other. At least, you know, this one's different polarity than these two, and it is. But just for the fun of it, since I already had the pickups sort of desoldered, I checked the phase. And the phase of these two match, and the bridge is completely out of phase. So I'm going to swap those two wires around and see if the whole thing comes together in the end. Alright, well, I put it back together. This is going to be the end of this saga. I mean, I really I did a lot of setup to it. I fixed the ground wire on the claw tremolo. I swapped the wires on this bridge pickup. Honestly, it doesn't really sound any different now, so it's just a crappy pickup. That's all there is to it. I did upgrade the strap buttons to some Starcaster ones that I had because I was going to throw them out anyway, but I'm not going to spend any time doing any real upgrades to this. I intonated it, I set the action. It still will not hold a tune worth anything, and I don't know if that's new strings or crappy tuners, but probably a little bit of both. Probably a lot of bit of crappy tuners, but anyway. You know, I did fix the neck relief. It tightened up and it came out fine. It's just such a beginner, entry-level, almost toy instrument that I'm not going to put any more time into it. Thought you guys would like to know what's going on with these things. I mean, they're only 56 bucks on Amazon shipped, and I just think, you know, it's a crazy good price if you just want a guitar to literally throw around, or if you know, you're just a brand new player and you know you don't have any money and you want to just get started, and it's good enough for that, but that's about it. So thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you guys watching me. If you like my videos, please subscribe, click the like button, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys next time.